Do you ever hear women say, I'm a housewife, and think to yourself, why would anyone choose to be a housewife, especially in 2026? Women fought for generations to have access for education, career, their own money, and opportunities that simply women before us didn't have. So after all that freedom, why would women voluntarily stay at home? Well, that's what I want to talk about in today's video as someone who actually made that choice. Hello, my name is Iman. I've been married for 8 years and I have been a housewife for 6 of those years. And today I want to share 4 reasons why would a woman generally choose to stay at home and maybe why you would want so too. And before I start, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. No, I'm not saying all women should stay at home. And no, I'm not saying that women shouldn't have careers. I have worked before and I know what both lifestyles look like. So I'm simply talking about the choice. So without further ado, let's get into it. Reason number 1 is that it can simply make life easier if both people share the responsibilities. A household requires 2 different kinds of works. There is work that brings money to the household, and then there is the work required to actually run the household. A single person usually has to work, cook, clean, buy groceries, keep track of what's running out, make appointments, do laundry, keep things organized, etc. In a marriage, when both people work full-time, those responsibilities don't magically disappear. They just get pushed into the evenings and weekends. So now you have 2 people who come from work tired and round 2 begins. What are we gonna eat? Did you wash my shirt? We need grocery. The bathroom needs cleaning. Did you call the insurance company? And suddenly Saturday becomes administration day. For some couple, that's perfectly fine. They divide everything 50-50 and they're happy. But another option is specialization. One person focuses mainly on providing the income, while the other person focuses mainly on managing the home and everything surrounding it. And I actually think people underestimate how efficient this can be. If my husband is at work, he doesn't need to spend half of his mental energy thinking about what we're gonna eat tonight or whether we still have detergent. And I don't have to finish an 8-hour workday and then start cleaning at 7 p.m. We're basically saying, you handle that department, I'll handle this one. Very corporate if you ask me. And obviously this only works if both people respect what the other person contributes. A housewife is not her husband's employee, and a husband is not his wife's ATM machine. You're supposed to be a team. But now you might ask, if dividing the roles makes sense, then why is it the woman that has to stay home and not the man? Which brings us to reason number 2, the physiological and psychological differences of a man and a woman. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Men and women are different, period. And it's sad that I feel that we reach this strange point where acknowledging that men and women are different is somehow offensive. We're literally different biological sexes. Of course we're gonna be different. And one of the areas that research actually see this difference is our response to stress. And now before you come at me, I'm not saying women can't handle stress. Women can handle stress. We work at hospitals, we raise children, we survive childbirth, we handle more than stress, okay? What I'm saying is, on average, men and women don't experience and respond to some kind of stress in the exact same way. And I have personally noticed this not only in my relationship, but in others' relationships too. When men come back from home, they need some quiet time alone, and then their nervous system, emotions, and everything is reset. And even if it's not, they manage to somehow internally sort that out, and then they can be fully present with you. But with women, they look like they moved on immediately or shortly from work stress, but in reality, the matter was just snoozed and it will resurface whenever other stress triggers come up. For example, you come back from work, you're very tired, you had a stressful day, and the kitchen is messy and you need to start making dinner. We can all imagine how a woman would respond to that, right? To name a few of work-related stress, because I feel like these have become the norm and we don't even realize that we're under stress. So you have deadlines, work to get promotion, passive colleagues that you need to collaborate with, abusive manager, and so on. And if you happen to wonder, why does it matter if stress is affecting me or not? Yeah, it's part of the job, so what? Then I would like to make you aware of your superpower that apparently you didn't know it existed, which is the ability to control the mood of the house and everyone in it. Cool, right? Notice how if a woman is cheerful, then everyone in the house is cheerful and the mood is great. But if she's in a bad mood, then it's a gloomy day in that house, even if the husband is cheered up. And once you realize your own value, you'll understand that all points I'm talking about in these videos are actually your strength and not your weakness. So moving to another strength, reason number 3, menstrual cycle. Now let me make this personal because I can't speak for every woman, because some barely notices their period. I unfortunately notice mine. When I used to work, the PMS week was actually the worst week of my month. It's like I've been replaced by someone else. My need for sleep increases, and I'm talking about 10 plus hours of sleep. I'm constantly tired, hungry, I don't have the energy or the will to do anything. And mentally I feel like I'm a one-core processor. I'm so slow at comprehending topics and reacting to things to the point where I doubt myself and my capabilities altogether. Normally, I can deal with different problems, communicate properly, and think things through. But during PMS, someone asks me 2 questions at the same time and my brain shuts down. What frustrates me the most is not even all of this. It was knowing that my capacity had temporarily changed while the expectations around me still the same. The workday is still 8 hours, the deadline is still a deadline, and the meeting is still at 9. And after PMS, I have 1 to 2 days of pretty severe period pain. When I used to work, sometimes I would even call in sick for 1 or 2 days because I honestly can't handle any meeting or manage anything. And although being sick is totally legit, I would blame myself. It's like I wasn't given my 100% or I was simply an unreliable employee. And of course, you can go ahead and blame it on the work environment, laws, legislation, but that's not today's topic. Today we're talking about the choice that served me and my well-being first, not the corporate. And being at home did exactly that. If I'm exhausted, I can simply move things around. Laundry doesn't have a deadline. Nothing is urgent. I'm my own boss. I can work more when I have energy and slow down when I don't. And for my body, that flexibility is one of the biggest advantages of being a housewife. Which brings us to reason number 4, the underrated perks of this role. I get so excited when I talk about this one. Now, let me explain this one in slightly unfair way. Imagine you and your sibling or your best friend are told you have to manage a household together. One of you has to be responsible for earning enough money to cover all fixed expenses. That person will probably have a schedule. They need to wake up at a certain time, commute maybe, deal with co-workers, deal with the boss, meet deadlines, maintain their career, potentially and most likely keep learning new skills to stay competitive in the market. And if they don't feel like working on Tuesday, well, Tuesday unfortunately doesn't care. Now the second person manages the household. They have responsibilities too. The house has to be reasonably clean, food needs to exist, laundry needs to be washed, and things need to be organized. But the schedule, much more flexible. You want to clean at 8 a.m? Fine. 2 p.m? Fine. You want to do almost everything on Monday and then have a relaxed rest of the week? That works. Oh, you don't feel like cooking one evening? We can order something. No one from HR is opening a case against you because you bought the pizza. And once core responsibilities are done, the rest of the time is yours. You can exercise, read, learn, work on your hobby, make YouTube videos, maybe meet someone for coffee, go somewhere in the middle of the weekday while everyone is trapped in their offices. Which, by the way, is... Have you ever gone grocery shopping on a Tuesday? No queues, no chaos, just me and 6 retired seniors, beautiful and peaceful. Okay, back to reality. Yes, housework repeats forever. If you clean something today, you will probably have to clean it again tomorrow. But compared to a career, there isn't a ladder that you are pressured to keep climbing. You don't need to constantly improve to prove that you are better than another housewife to keep your position. As someone who have done both roles and purely from the perspective of freedom of my time, I can safely say that for me, being a housewife is the more advantageous role. And I can already imagine what someone is typing or thinking to their head. Yeah, but your husband is the one who earns the money, so he has the power. But that's exactly the sad part. Nowadays, conversations about housewives automatically assume that the husband is some sort of evil landlord or something. I'm talking about a healthy marriage between two decent people. The money coming into our household is household money. If someone is earning the money while someone is enabling that by running the household, then both people are contributing to the same unit. And there should absolutely be discussions about savings, access to accounts, spending, retirement, emergencies, and financial security. Being a housewife does not mean you know nothing about your family's finance. That would totally be a terrible idea for both people, by the way. So in a normal, loving marriage, I don't think the relationship should be I earn money, you obey me. If we're going to turn marriage into some sort of employment relationship, then I better start invoicing the laundry. Look, I know what you're thinking. You probably agree with all that I've said, but you're thinking to yourself, yeah, but if I left work, then I would have no purpose in life. And I totally understand why. I used to think that way too, because that's what they taught us. We live in a society where the answer to what do you do basically means what job do you do? And it still amuses me every single time that someone asks that question and I will be like, I'm a housewife. And their facial expression changes a little bit, but they're trying to somehow keep hold of it. It's just so funny. And because of this exact behavior and mentality that we eventually start to associate career with our identity. But I really don't think that employment and purpose are the same thing. Yes, a job can be deeply meaningful, but it can also be just the thing you do because electricity costs money. However, if you leave your job to spend your entire day cooking, cleaning, and waiting for your husband to come back home, then yes, you will probably feel unfulfilled. Which is exactly why I made an entire video about how to feel fulfilled as a housewife without a career. I highly recommend you go check it out if you have any doubts about being a housewife. So, why would anyone become a housewife in 2026? Dividing responsibility makes life easier. The flexibility and freedom of being at home, because our bodies, personalities, and priorities are not all identical. And most importantly, because having the right to pursue a career should also include having the right to decide that you don't want to have one. That's the part of women's freedom that I think often gets forgotten. Freedom doesn't mean every woman making the same choice. I personally chose this one, and 6 years later, I still think I made the right choice. I would really like to know your opinion about this. Would you ever see yourself becoming a housewife? Or if you're already one, what was the biggest reason why you made this choice? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.